My presentation at the Women of Wisdom Conference is called Hastening Sophia's Return from the Galactic Center. And it's about Sophia as a being who created all of this world and the universe beyond, and learning more about her. And starting with the idea that Sophia created things over eons of time rather than the world was created in 6 days. So things were created in waves, first the astral body, then the physical body of the world, and just how that might shift our reverence for the world, knowing that it was something that was prepared for us over eons of time. My hope is that people will walk away with greater care and concern for the earth. But learning about the complexity of Sophia, so she is the creatrix of all on one level at the Galactic Center. She also couldn't leave us. She is here with us as the body of the earth. And so she is contained within us. We possess Sophia within us, but we hardly know her. So helping people to have that greater awareness of Sophia, the living being within us of which we are made. And then understanding the idea of Sophia as the world soul, holding the world together through her intention. And Sophia as the world soul is something that is continuing to evolve. She requires that we participate with her in bringing forward the new world. So helping people to get an understanding of the broader picture of Sophia and a different understanding and reverence for the beginning of the earth and all that is involved. I've always had a devotion to Mary, and the interrelationship between Sophia and many of the goddesses from traditions around the world is complicated, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. Mm-hmm. And I think my brush with Sophia became more firm when my daughter was ill. She was in the hospital, and she had a very, the doctors were really nonplussed. They didn't understand what was going on with her. And at that time I went to church, and part of the homily was, be on the alert for wisdom, which is another name for Sophia, and anxiety will disappear. And all of a sudden I felt this sense of relief about my daughter. And I thought that yes, I will be on the alert for wisdom, Sophia, as far as my daughter's illness is concerned, and just be attentive to her. And that just started me down the road of being attentive to Sophia in many, many ways, and it just started my relationship with her in a much deeper way.
Mm-hmm. And when you say being attentive, how do you mean?
Being on the lookout and listening.
Uh-huh.
And yes, being observant of messages that come in, just sometimes on the breeze, sometimes in a song, sometimes as you just happen to go to the bookshelf and open a book, and there it is, exactly what you wanted to have an answer to.
Uh-huh.
So she speaks in many mysterious ways and many common ways, but to be on the alert and listening for her, being open to conversation with her, and being open to her wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I like to do is to bring images of the various aspects of the Divine Mother.
Uh-huh.
And so they will be present at this workshop, and women will have an opportunity to go and sit next to, because I don't do a PowerPoint presentation,
Mm-hmm.
but I actually have images on the wall. Go and sit next to that image that calls to them. Uh-huh. And they'll have reflection questions to pursue, be in dialogue with that aspect of the Mother. And then we'll come back and do some large group activities as well. I have a movement that is dedicated, a movement piece that is dedicated especially to Sophia,
Mm-hmm.
hastening her return from the Galactic Center, so we'll be practicing that. And then there'll be a ritual. Since Sophia is of the earth, there'll be a ritual using gemstones.
Okay.
And the women will leave the workshop with this a gemstone that has been blessed and that has been a part of the ritual.
Mm-hmm.
I have a room in my apartment called the Council of Sacred Mothers that
Uh-huh.
I did a presentation where as I often do, I line the walls with images of the Divine Feminine. And it occurred to me, wow, this is really like the Council of Sacred Mothers, and what could we learn by sitting in council with them and letting their voice be heard through us. And so I actually replicated that in my own apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I have presentations and things to do, I sit in that room. And ask for advice, and sometimes it comes in that moment, and sometimes it comes later. Like when I'm sleeping, I wake up, get out my pen and paper, and start scribbling things down. So it comes about through that kind of process. So I try to help people be a clearing for their own uniqueness and to bring that forward from themselves. And then, I don't always use the Council of Sacred Mothers in my work. In times when I do, then having a period where we sit in council, and after they've done meditation and reflection, then actually listening. Is there anything the mothers have to say for the good of the group? But in these tumultuous times, I think that we are all called upon to enact the purpose for which we came. And the Martha Graham quote about there is an energy, a quickening, a life force, a vitality that flows through you into action. And since there's only one of you in all time, that action is unique. And if you don't express it, it will be lost. And so trying to help people see that as much as they don't think they're enough, or they're not good enough, they're not this, that, or that enough, that we're here for a purpose, and all we're asked to do is to express our uniqueness. That's our piece of the puzzle. And so helping people to take themselves seriously and to accept their gifts is a lot of what I'm about. And I love the images of the Sacred Mothers because there are just the goddess is whole and complete. In every way of being a woman, you can find a goddess who acts that way. There are goddesses who are warriors. There are goddesses who are, helpers of people who, like a Mother Teresa type person, although I'm not comparing her to a goddess. But the Divine Feminine is extremely broad spectrum, and so women can find who they are in the Divine Feminine and can see that as a sacred part of themselves, and can bring that expression to the world. We're all created in the image of God, and in this culture, God usually looks like a boy. So I think that women a lot of times can't even imagine what a feminine face of God would look like, and they can't see themselves as having the importance and stature of, say, their male counterparts, and they think of themselves as insignificant, inconsequential too often. And so by helping them see, no, there is a goddess that looks like you, there is a God that looks like you, awaken to your gifts, bring those gifts to the world. And since there has been such a dearth of emphasis on the feminine, bring especially those feminine gifts that have been denigrated in our society, bring those forward to work on solutions that are unique in what's needed in this world. So I try to get women to take themselves more seriously, to do deep listening, to learn to affirm themselves. And a lot of times one of the biggest stumbling blocks for women is what's going on up here. So either their comparisons with one another, or the times that they judge themselves and think other people are judging them, which may be based on reality or not, but it's usually not helpful at all. And so helping replace some of those outmoded ways of looking at themselves, helping women to see that their gifts are huge and that they're what the world needs, is what I try to do in my work. And I use the images of the Divine Mothers to help evoke that and strengthen their intuition and other gifts of the Divine Feminine. Competition is definitely a destroyer of many, many things. And so I think a lot of it comes back to self-judgment, and that if people can learn to be accepting of themselves, they can be more forgiving of others. I say that knowing that other people begin by being more forgiving of others, and then at some point reflect that forgiveness back on themselves. So I guess approaching it from either way.
Yes.
And upside down and inside out and all of that, because it is something that's very strong within women, and they need help. But I also think activities, prayer, movement, chant, poetry, art, have ways of bringing women together. It gets women out of that critical side of their brain into the more right side of the brain, and that there's a lot of growth that happens in those spaces.
Right.
And so including those pieces, I think, are really very important.
Yeah.
It's hard to be judgmental and grateful at the same time. There's some things that are just mutually exclusive, and those are some of them. So how to get the social action piece of it, whether it be a part of a movement to participate in or to do what is kind of burning in your heart. So the church that I belong to, there's a woman and her husband actually that started out just doing simple things, collecting money to start a school in Ethiopia. And it was such a simple thing, but it's grown, and now they've started several schools. They've implemented clean water projects. They've done really amazing things, being quite small. And so social action can be part of a bigger group, but it can also be me following what my heart dictates I should be doing. Whether it's handing out sandwiches to the homeless, whether it's going to Ethiopia and starting a school, whether it's knitting scarves and hats for people for the winter, whatever is, I think, our joy and our bliss is kind of the direction we should move in, because then we're really tapping into who we are and what our uniqueness is and our heart connection. I had an experience of having a Thanksgiving that was hard for me, and I was just kind of pouting and feeling sorry for myself until I thought, you know what, there's two people in the building that I live in that have been very good to me, and I have some oranges and some other little things. I'm going to take them each a plate and a little card and just tell them I'm grateful. And just doing that little action shifted everything for me. I had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and the thing that changed was being able to be grateful. And so I want to just say the power of that, because it's a big, complex issue. There's room enough for all of us to bring our style of working on it, to raise women up to their power, and to raise women up to take their purpose seriously.